All right. So today is May 22nd, 2019. We've got David Torgerson. David, first off, tell me, what do you think is the number one challenge that realtors face today? Talk to me.
They don't lead generate.
Why not?
I think that I can only draw on my own experience of why sometimes I don't even lead generate, and I think that it's fear of rejection. The pain of inaction, is not as great as the as the pain of action, or vice versa, something like that.
Right. So they're focusing on the pain of actually picking up the phone, right? And calling that for sale by owner, that expired listing, or heck, maybe even a past client or somebody in their sphere of influence. Right. They're focused on the potential rejection. I don't know about you guys. That's painful to me. Yet if I focus on that pain, guess what? I'm not going to pick up the phone. It's going to weigh 2 tons. I can't pick it up, right? Yet focus on the pain of not picking up the phone. Now that's real pain, where the other is just a perception of pain. Now, one of the Icon maxims that you guys will hear a lot about when you plug into Icon coaching, by the way, is fear is not the same as danger, right? Yeah, sure. Everybody who's achieved extraordinary success has experienced some level of fear, no question about it. In fact, prior to this call, David told me, hey, I'm kind of nervous about this. And hey, that's cool. I love that, because anytime we have that feeling of the butterflies in the stomach, guys, what that means is that we are growing. We're stretching our minds. And the best news about that is once your mind is stretched, it never goes back to its original form. So David, thanks for facing the fear. Tell me, how did you personally overcome the fear of lead generation?
It was that the fear of lead generation was not as great as the fear of going broke.
Okay. So the fear of going broke kind of motivated you. In essence, you're like me. You're motivated through the contrast, right?
Right.
So the fear of going broke was so much greater than this fear of actually picking up the phone and potentially being rejected by somebody. Now, a lot of the business that you're doing right now is based on cold calling. I mean, people who have never heard of you before, never talked to you before, and somehow you've developed this mindset to get on the phone with them and ask for what you want. Talk to me about how you overcame it.
So it's a pretty simple mindset of once you've gone broke before, and I've experienced that you have a tendency to never really want to go back to that again. So when I started cold calling, it was in the type of a market where it wasn't very good. I mean, I got licensed in 2008, so it was right when everything went super down, and I didn't really have any other resources that were available to me. I didn't have anybody that was mentoring or coaching me, and so I remember asking the question one time, like, well, how do I get business? Like, what do I do? Like, I know how to do the business, but where do I get the business? And the broker that I worked with at the time, who was still a good friend of mine, and I respect him for saying this because he just didn't know any better. He was like, go grab the phone book. And I was like, well, what good is the phone book going to do me? And he was like, there are names and numbers in the phone book. Maybe they want to sell a house. And I thought it was really stupid. And finally, I was like, well, I'm on the verge of going completely broke. I guess I'm going to have to do something. So I started calling through the phone book. And the golden thing that happened was that there was a guy, and I know that he wouldn't mind me mentioning his name. His name is Brian Ahern. And so you can tell that I started in the A's of the phone book. And when I got to Brian Ahern, I got a listing appointment. It was crazy.
So it's just a numbers game at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the simple truth is, gang, when you reverse engineer it, see, a lot of people, they want to create accountability measures or hold themselves accountable to a certain level of revenue. Now, I think that's really challenging to do because there's far too many things outside of our control. Meaning you can't control the buyer's credit score, their cash position, the seller's equity position. You just can't control that stuff. Or they want to hold themselves accountable to the number of contracts that they're doing. And again, far too many things outside of their control. And even worse, holding yourself accountable to the number of appointments that you get. Now, here's the challenge in that, you guys, because we want to check the box, because we want this fulfillment of accomplishing something that we set out to do. Ultimately, what I've found is that people set appointments that maybe they shouldn't be going on at all. And then they invest all these hours, all this time in the preparation of this meeting. And they're going on an appointment with an unmotivated seller or somebody who's upside down or unrealistic on their list price, right? So rather, when we reverse engineer this, there's the one thing you control is the number of people that you speak with every day. The simple truth is, if you want more appointments, well, you just get to talk to more people, right? If you want more contracts, you need more appointments, which means you get to talk to more people. If you want more revenue, well, that means you need more contracts. If you want more contracts, you need more appointments, right? You get the point. It's based on the number of people that you talk to. And there's three things that really you can control in this business. It's what you do, or excuse me, what you say. Second, how you say it. And then third, saying it to enough people. So guys, many of you are just not having enough conversations. As simple as that. Now, David is a prime example. He went to the white pages and he started with the A's. And before you know it, guess what? He got a listing appointment. He found somebody. The bottom line is this. Motivated prospects are located. They're not created. What I mean by that is there is no security in the number of leads you have. Leads, well, they're just leads. Many of them not even prospects, are more suspects than anything else. Some of you would be better off just opening up the white pages just like David did, and eventually you're going to find somebody to list with you or buy with you, no doubt about it. Now, tell me, what advice would you have for agents around lead generation? Talk to me.
Oh, just do it.
Okay, just do it.
Yeah.
And while there's 1,000 different things you could do to generate leads, David, and I know you know this, what would your advice be as to which ones?
For me, it's spending more time in your sphere and the people that you already have an existing relationship with. Because those are the people that are most likely going to have that nice conversation with you of, no, I'm not interested in buying right now. However, I do appreciate the call. And then you can always ask them for the referral, since we have such a great relationship and I love you and you love me and you want to see me succeed as much as I want to see you succeed, who can I be working with that I should be talking to right now? And those are just nice conversations to have. I mean, most of the time they're going to say no. But the cool thing is that people appreciate it when you call and ask for help. It makes them feel important.
So what I hear from that, what I take away from that is to be transparent.
Yeah.
And hey, I need your help. I need more business, right? I need your help. Who do you know right now that's looking to rent a property, buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I could call today? And just asking that, as you said, makes them feel important. And by the way, don't we all love helping people? There's no doubt about it. You wouldn't be in real estate if you didn't love helping people, no question about it. And many of your friends, many of those people in your sphere of influence, and even a cold conversation, you're going to find people who want to help you. Great advice, David, no doubt. Now, tell me, what's the greatest lesson that you've learned being a realtor looking to get that next level of production? Talk to me.
I was thinking about that, and we had talked about the answer. And really, the biggest lesson is that it's painful. It's painful. So it's getting to the next level is not comfortable. Because the way that my mind works is that it wants to keep me in a place of comfort, because comfort is safe. And so as a result, I don't wind up doing anything different than what I have always done. And we all know that when you do what you've done, then you always get what you got. And so, the biggest lesson is that growing is uncomfortable. I guess I shouldn't say painful, because I felt pain before, and growing is definitely not painful. It's just uncomfortable. I think that's important to remember. That was my biggest lesson.
Gotcha. And yet those that have achieved extraordinary success in real estate sales, you guys, they've refined and enhanced their ability to put themselves in positions of discomfort. Just like David, you being on this webinar with me right now, is it totally comfortable? No. So we've got to develop the ability to become comfortable being uncomfortable. Now, with that said, I think it's important to recognize, and one of my favorite quotes, by the way, is every master was once a disaster. I mean, when we first start doing something, of course, it's going to be terrible. You might even suck at it. That's okay. Yet through evaluated repetition, you're going to get to that position of mastery. No question about it. So tell me, David, what did you wish that you knew when you started in real estate that you know now? Talk to me.
I wish that I would have known that I needed to actually go out and ask people for business. Because when I first started, I just thought that having my license, people would just show up and want to do business with me. I listened to my broker too, which again, I have great respect for this guy. I truly do. I still talk to him to this day and ask him for advice on commercial real estate. He's a wonderful human. But the thing that he told me, he was like, just, stay on floor time, stay in front of the office phone, it's going to ring. And granted, when he was a new agent, that worked because the MLS was a book. They had a book. And the only way that you found out which properties were on the market is if you went down to a real estate brokerage. Well, times have changed. I mean, it's not that way anymore. And so the biggest lesson that the biggest thing that I learned when I was a new agent was that I have to go out and ask people for business. People are not going to come to me. They just won't.
They never, well, hardly ever do, no doubt about that. Yet when you do your business right and you've added substantial value, I think you'll agree with me that people will ultimately come to you, right?
Eventually. Yeah, absolutely.
Undoubtedly. So tell me, what's your favorite objection, by the way?
Oh, yeah. Will you sell my house for a lower commission, or will you take a lower commission?
All right, let's role play it. Ready?
Yeah.
Well, David, I like what you said. I believe you could get the job done, yet I need you to take a lower commission. Will you reduce your fee?
No.
And that's the objection handler.
Yeah.
And what do they usually say?
Okay.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy?
They have to ask. I mean, they have to ask. It's the same thing with me. Like when I'm buying a car, it's like I go down to the car lot, it's like, how much for the car? They're like $50,000. Like, wow, that's a lot of money. Dang. Is that the best you can do? And they're like, like, okay, cool. Well, I guess let's go sign it up. I want to buy the car.
But I laugh only because so many times we want to overcomplicate things, right? It reminds me of one of my favorite riddles. And that is, what can you sleep on? What can you sit on? And what can you brush your teeth with? Right? What can you sit on, sleep on, and brush your teeth with? And the answer is a chair, a bed, and a toothbrush, right? And so many times, because of our neuro associations of the word riddle, we want to overcomplicate things. We want to make it just so complex. And guys, we get lost in the complexity. We want to develop some long dialogue. And yes, I've done that myself. And yes, they're available on my website. And yes, they do work. Yet I kind of like David's approach, because so many times we try to sell something with blah, 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 when it should just be sold with just blah, right? So David, just by saying, no, I won't reduce my commission, just a single word script. Guys, next time that happens to you, I'm going to challenge you to get out of your comfort zone, to give that a shot, no doubt about it. Now, David, I want to kind of transition here a little bit, because you moved from a big box brokerage. In fact, Keller Williams, I think it's safe that I say that out loud. I mean, great company, great people, no doubt about it. Yet you shifted from KW to EXP. Tell me why.
Well, why? That's interesting. I thought about that and how to actually put this. So there was a difference. There was a difference of opinion, I think, is probably the best way to put it. Parts of it I was aware of, parts of it I wasn't aware of. And I guess this is my best opportunity to say, like, I think Keller Williams is a great brand, truly do, to this day. No problem with it whatsoever. In fact, I love it. I learned a lot there, and I'm appreciative of that. And also at the same time, it was time for me to go. And my biggest desire that I have is to expand out of the Helena market. And so within the Keller Williams model, it is difficult to expand, within Keller Williams. So if I wanted to go to Helena, or go from Helena to Missoula or to Bozeman, I have to go and I have to get the blessing from, the market centers and everything. And with EXP, I don't have to do any of that, because the way that they're structured is that it's a state brokerage, or a state broker that takes care of everything. And if I want to go expand into another market area, I just sign up on the MLS, and I'm in that market area.
Easy peasy. Okay, so your model was around expansion. Yet, tell me, what opportunities beyond that exist for you with any of the EXP model that didn't maybe exist in the other model?
Yeah, so within EXP, the thing that I really like is that well, I guess to answer that question, I have to tell you a little bit about myself. Is that I'm a fiercely independent person. That's why I got into real estate sales in the first place. Is that
most of us are, no doubt.
right? So, and one of the things that I noticed is that as I grew, there was more bureaucracy. It felt like bureaucracy. And really all I want to do is I want to grow my business. I want to help a bunch of families buy and sell real estate, help them invest in real estate and create financial freedom. And then have like a life filled with freedom where I get to dictate the schedule. And again, I mean, as I was looking at what my options were, as far as brokerages were concerned, eXp has the largest amount of freedom. It's cloud-based brokerage. So what are my obligations to go into the office? None. There isn't one.
Right. So how I understand it is that you as the main agent, you're paying $16,000, yet you reach that icon status within their network, and they give it back to you in stock. So it really doesn't cost you anything, right?
Yeah. And I forgot about that. It's free.
And with a mega team, the cap per individual on an 80-20 split is just $4,000, provided you're on a mega team, as they call it, with 10 agents. So it's an interesting model to me. There's no doubt about it. How about the revenue share aspect of it? How do you see that impacting your future?
Yeah. So the revenue share, that's, and to be honest, I mean, that's something that I haven't really dove into that, to the fullest extent that I should, just because we're still transitioning out of Keller Williams and into the new model. But the revenue share is really interesting because it's from what I understand, it's just based on the revenue that the agent is bringing in to eXp, as opposed to what they had at Keller Williams, that was this really complicated profit share program, that was sort of a moving target. So as I recruit more people into eXp and mentor them to get them into production, the carrot for me to continue to mentor them, is that I get a little piece of the action from eXp, and it's a flat number, so it's not this really complicated equation. Like, I wonder what I'm going to get in profit share this month, because I remember my first profit share check. Now, granted, I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for any amount of money that I get that basically was earned by the product of or the effort of somebody else. But my first profit share check was $11.43.
Well, the challenge in that model is that it's highly subjective to how the operating partner wants to spend that cash, right? So they have a great month and, let's get new furniture. Let's get a new copy machine. Let's hire another staff person. And guess what? No profits left over, and the agents are the ones that suffer. In the eXp model, it's just a flat fee. There's no subjective spending or any craziness that goes on. It's just you're guaranteed to get this much regardless. And of course, we have friends in the industry that are making a heck of a lot of money doing this. That's for darn sure. No doubt about it. So all good things. So there's a traditional way of creating wealth in this industry, of investing your money in real estate to, babysit tenants and be called at 12 o'clock at night because the refrigerator went out or whatever the case is. And yes, you'll create long-term wealth. It's a long tail approach. However, I have friends that have gone that path and done exceptionally well, and now their money's working for them. Yet they said if they had learned about this model, 15 years ago, they would have done it in 6 months instead of, 15 years. So regardless of that, you guys, if you're interested in that, David, you had some kind of a video or something you wanted to point them to just to save them a lot of time and Googling and benchmarking, trending and researching and everything else. But what is that? How could they find out about it?
Yep. So if you text EXP 406 to 31996, there's a 7-minute video on there that'll tell you, pretty much everything you want to know about EXP.
Excellent. I'll go ahead and type that into the chat bar. What was it again?
So text EXP 406
to
31996.
All right. Fantastic. And I'll make this available for all attendees. So it's right there in the chat function. By the way, if you guys have a question, you can either type it in the chat bar or just type it into the question. There's a little Q&A thing down at the bottom of your screen. Go ahead and click that and ask away. Whatever agenda you have, nothing is off limits. If you want to know about compensation models, if you want to know about lead generation tactics and strategies, I'll keep asking questions. Yet as you guys pop in and chime in, then I'm going to, of course, work your questions in. So you showed up for a reason. Let's figure out what that is today. By the way, this is being recorded, and we are going to send out the replay link to everybody who registered for this event. So, David, next question, buddy. Obviously, you've achieved massive success in real estate, right? I mean, you certainly hit my radar, no question. Yet, you didn't just start there, right? Let's rewind the tape. I'm going to go back to David when you first started in real estate. What mistakes did you make, or better yet, what learning lessons did you have? Let's save these guys some brain damage, right? Let's let them learn through your experiences, right? And tell me, when did you actually start getting traction in this industry? Was it a month in? Was it a year in? Was it 5 years in? Talk to me.
Yeah. The reason why I'm laughing so hard about that is that I am the king of mistakes. So I actually didn't start getting traction in the industry. So I got my license in December of 2007. So basically 2008. I didn't really start getting into production until probably about 2013, 2014. So there was there was like a 5 to 6 year period in there that I was just sort of like, well, what am I going to do now? Like, this kind of isn't really what I signed up for. Like, I feel like I'm working really hard, but I'm not really actually making any money. And so the biggest mistake that I made, goes back to the biggest lesson that I learned, is that you got to ask people for the business. If you just don't, if you don't ask them for the business, they're never going to give it to you. They'll be like, wow, he's such a nice guy. I know that he's a real estate agent, so do you think we ought to call Sean and list our house now? I mean, they'll just walk right past me because I never asked for the sale. They don't really know why I'm there.
Right.
So I think that that's one of the biggest ones, but, and starting out too, I mean, you have to let people know that you're an agent. You got to let them know. I mean, even as corny as it sounds, call your mom up. I mean, I wish that I would have done that, because the craziest thing is, I learned like 3 years later that there was a school teacher from Lewistown, Montana. That's where I'm from. That's where my parents still live. There was a school teacher that was moving from Lewistown to Helena, where I live. I'm a real estate agent. My parents knew about it, but I hadn't let them know that I got licensed yet. So I missed out on a referral opportunity from my mother.
Ouch. Ouch. Yeah. As crazy as it sounds, yeah. Call anybody and everybody you know. Now, by the way, how did you communicate to them that you're in real estate? What'd you do? Did you just pick up the phone? Did you send out a mailer? Did you email everybody? Talk to me.
It was a mixture of all sorts of things. I mean, it was text, email, phone call. That was really, I guess back in 2008, that was before I really started using Facebook for anything either. I don't even know if you could PM in 2008.
I don't think so. No. Just new on the scene, no doubt.
Right. So, I mean, it was whatever medium, made sense, for that particular person. Because I knew the people that, I mean, when you call them, it always goes to voicemail, and their voicemail is always full, so why would you call them? Send them a text, hey, I'm a real estate agent now. I just want to let you know, like, do you need anything? But the other thing too is, when I started out, I never asked them, did you need anything? I was like, hey, I'm a real estate agent, period. And they would respond back like, cool, period.
Well, and you just told them, didn't ask for anything. Didn't ask for any help. Okay, I get it. All right, so I think one of the greatest challenges that we all face today, you guys, is that our leads, our prospects have developed the ability, thanks to the digital marketing revolution, big box retailers like Zillow and Realtor.com and your own personal websites. People have the ability now to self-identify as a quote unquote lead way too early in the process, right? I mean, they might not be looking to buy or list for 2 years, yet they filled out some web form and the realtor thinks, oh, I've got this great lead, right? So 2 distinct buckets. By the way, you heard this from Greg Harrelson on the Icon of the Month webinar last year. I think it was last actually maybe even year before last. Yet nevertheless, Greg Harrelson said there's two distinct buckets these days. The first bucket is the dreaming phase, right? The second bucket is the actual buying or listing phase. And the point that he made that resonated so clearly with me was this, that if we ignore them when they're in the dreaming phase, they're going to ignore us when they get to the buying and listing phase. So with that posturing, David, tell me, how are you nurturing leads that aren't ready to list with you today or buy with you today? Talk to me.
Yeah. So we have, so we're in the process of creating our 36 touch. And the 36 touches that we're going to make contact with, with a prospect or a lead 36 times in a 12-month period. And so what that is that we're essentially renting headspace from them, that when they do get ready to do something, that when they think of a real estate agent, that we're going to be at least number one or number two, and hopefully number one. And it's just a systematic approach to being in front of them all the time in a very inobtrusive way, so we're not like, you ready to buy now? How about now? How about now? How about now? How about now? Because that's how you get unsubscribed and blocked, as I found.
Right.
So, and when they're ready, they'll let you know, and then the other thing too, it's also to know that even though you've got somebody in your 36 touch, it doesn't mean that they're always going to do business with you. And it doesn't mean that everybody that's in the 36 touch is going to turn into a piece of business. And that's something that I found a couple of years ago that was an unreasonable expectation, is that, and it's very egotistical of me, is that I think that I'm so wonderful and so great that if you're in my database, that you're going to be doing business with me.
Right.
And it's totally wrong. That's totally wrong. So
well, it's a harsh truth for all of us, right? To recognize that you're doing your very best to earn this person's business. Sometimes it just can't be done. They might have a brother or sister, a cousin or aunt or uncle who's in real estate. And no matter what you did, what you said, they're still going to list with that person or buy from that person. Yet, you just have to take the grease with the gravy, right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that just leads right back into what we originally started talking about, is that, there's no substitution for lead generation. There's just absolutely no substitution for it. So like even when the database is full, and the business is rolling in and things are really great, and you can kind of like sit back and take a break and you're set for like 4 or 5 months. Well, if you don't lead generate for 4 or 5 months, the next 4 or 5 months is going to be total garbage. And I've experienced that too, so you wind up with this whole, a really jagged looking scale of activity, that's like May is super duper good, June it's okay, and then July is really horrible, and then like August is a little bit better, and then September is really great, and then October is not so great, November is terrible, and that just sucks. So if you just lead generate the entire time, knowing that you're not going to be able to convert 100% of the people that are in there, life is easier, in my opinion.
Life is a heck of a lot easier, no doubt about it. Okay, so next question for you. First off, how does somebody reach you? By the way, that's what they're all going to want to know. How do I reach out to him with referrals for the state of Montana or Helena, for example?
So you can call me. Just call me.
Be careful.
Yeah. So find me on Facebook. I mean, I'm pretty visible. This is a really great example of how visible we are. So my company name is Versant Real Estate Group. You can find us online. Give me a call. Our numbers are listed all over the place. Should I give my number now?
Go for it.
Cool.
Save them some time Googling you. Just what's the number? Go ahead.
Yep. So it's area code 406-459-8565. Or if you want to talk to my admin, it's 406-459-8388. And if you live in Montana, you don't even have to do the 406 because we only have one zip code. Or one area code.
One area code.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be nice? So 7-digit dialing still exists. If you took nothing else away from this webinar, that would be it.
Only in Montana.
Okay, so let's go back to nurturing of leads real quick, because I think this is something that's underutilized in the real estate industry today. I think that, in fact, based on a case study that Top Producer did for us, the average number of attempts that a realtor actually makes to a lead to contact them is 1.2 times. That's it. That's the average across the United States, you guys. Now, in the same case study, they referenced that if you attempt to reach them 6 times over a 7-day period, that your ability to convert that prospect to a client increases 900%. Now you're thinking, okay, I've got all these leads. How am I going to nurture all of them? How am I going to call all of them? So David, how have you applied leverage to your model to aggressively follow up with people?
Yeah. So 2 ways. So I have an amazing admin, and I think that she's watching. At least she told me that she was going to be watching. So anyway, big shout out to Alyssa. So as far as leverage is concerned, that's been very, very helpful because she runs a lot of the systems that we have, tracks a lot of the leads that we have, and then also responds on my behalf to them. So so the human part of the leverage has been that's been really huge, and then the technology part of the leverage. So we use Brivity. Brivity's it's a great CRM. We've had really, really good success with it. And they have auto plans that you just create your auto plans. And then the trigger is, like they sign up on the website, they call on our IVR, a Zillow lead, a Facebook lead, a whatever lead, and it drops them into the whatever particular auto plan, and then it just runs automatically. So for the longest time when I saw like these really, really high producing real estate agents, and they're like, yeah, our callback rate is insane, and we're communicating with them, in a maximum of 5 minutes after they first, inquire on a property. It was confounding to me how they actually did that. And then they were like, oh yeah, we don't actually do that. That's just all an automated system. It's like, oh, so I don't suck. That's really big.
No, you just need to learn how to apply automation into your business model and your lead follow-up model, right? By the way, another way to apply leverage. Now, many of you have heard me say this before. You're not the only one who has to follow up with these people by phone. Even if you're an independent single agent doing this business all on your own, you can leverage lead follow-up. Think about it. When you close a buyer transaction, who else benefits? That's right. It's your lender, right? So with the right lender and setting the right expectations, they're going to do that lead nurturing, that lead follow-up for you. By the way, there's 4 basic expectations I want you to set. I'll go through them real quick. Number 1, that they're going to follow up with every buyer lead you give them until they buy or die. Okay. Number 2 is that they're willing to use your script and be your third-party endorsement. So that first call, once you contact your lender and say, hey, I just got permission from Jane Doe to have you reach out and get her financially approved to purchase, their first script would sound like this. Hey, this is John with XYZ Realty, Jane, and thanks for taking my call. Yet before we begin, I just want to commend you on your selection of a realtor. You know what? Sean Kokoska is by far the best realtor I've ever come across. I've been doing this for 28 years. How'd you get in touch with Sean? See, they make it all about you. You're their third-party endorsement because you can sell them better than they could sell yourself. And they're your third-party endorsement because they can sell you better than you can sell yourself. See, if you said that, it's ego-based. And nobody likes somebody with a huge ego. True? No doubt about it. Point number 3 is that they've got to be willing to send a MLO to attend every open house with you. And that's a totally different topic. And the reason why, by the way, if you go to iconcoachinre.com, go to the agent toolbox, there's a free download there for the open house strategy. Okay, now there's a couple of minor tweaks to your traditional open house that make all the difference in the world. Guys, it's free. Just go there, download it. There's 6 steps to this formula. Okay, and then the final point is that they've got to be willing to report to you on a weekly basis on the pipeline of leads that you've given them. And they're going to report on a couple of simple points, right? Number 1, what was the last point of communication? What is the planned next point of communication? And then finally, have them rate them in terms of motivation on a scale of 1 to 10. Guys, this will help you with another one of the greatest challenges that we all face. And that is that if you categorize your buyers like A buyers, ready, willing, able, financially approved, they'll be under contract the second you find them the right house, right? Meaning you'll have these people under contract by the end of the weekend. B buyers means, well, they're motivated, they're ready, willing, they're just not able, meaning something must happen for them to accomplish the sale. And then C buyers, well, there's no real motivation at all, yet they've somehow self-identified as somebody who's on your radar. Now, here's the challenge though, is that a C buyer, they can move to an A buyer overnight. They've told all their friends, all their family members, hey, when that house on the corner right there, whenever that thing comes available for sale, I'm going to buy it. And guess what? It was just listed last night, right? So their motivation went from a 1 on a scale of 1 to 10 to a 12. And unless you have this nurturing process in place, unless you positioned yourself in the mind of that prospect, guys, then when they think real estate, they're not going to think you. And what we have to do is position ourselves through leverage, through automation, through various points of communication, from text messages, friending them on social media, private messages, emails, phone calls, and leveraging your vendor partners to really get it across the goal line with you and for you. David, does that resonate with you?
It does. I just learned something new. I've never done that before. I've never leveraged through vendors.
Well, NAR did a case study, and Chris Waters, one of our past icons, brought this to light for me. This case study suggests that over $83,000 on average is pumped into the U.S. economy on a single real estate transaction. $83,000. Now, my question then became, why is it that the realtor's always the one spending the money to identify the people who are looking to buy and sell real estate, right? And not only spending the money, yet investing the man hours in lead generation and lead follow-up. Why is it that you're the only one doing that when $83,000, which includes your commission, is pumped into the U.S. economy? Shouldn't other people be willing to help you with that? And those with the right mindset, you guys, those that are into growth and just really dominating market share, they're going to say yes to helping you nurture your leads through this sequence, right? Good stuff, man. Good stuff. So what other value would you like to add to the audience today?
Oh, boy. What other value? It's a great question. Real estate sales is such a deep topic, and there are all sorts, there's so many people that are on different ends of the spectrum that, that's actually kind of a tough one to answer. I think, along with lead generation, you have to have a lead follow-up program. Because I think that's probably the biggest thing that I found over the last 4 years is that you can lead generate, and you could have like a mountain of leads, but if you just look at it and you're like, oh, I got a whole bunch of leads over there, and you don't do anything with them, they'll just sit there, and those leads, those are the ones that you've essentially primed the pump for the competition. Because now they're thinking like, oh, I should sell my house. Yeah, that guy that called me that one time was super cool. I really liked him. Yeah. I wonder whatever happened to him. I guess I'll sell my house with somebody else now. So you have to lead follow up. You just have to lead follow up.
The fortune is definitely in the follow up. So as it relates to the follow up, it's really about getting them on the phone for a live conversation for the most part, right? That's the ultimate goal of an email, of a private message. It's to create a conversation. So what are the standards that you have for yourself and for your teammates around number of conversations per day?
Number of conversations per day. So I'm the only one on the team currently. We've got a new buyer's agent that's actually going to start. He starts full time in 60 days. So it's me and my admin. So the team standards for me are 30 talks. So 30 talks a day. And so, and when I say talk, there's some qualification to that too. They can't be like, hello, and then I get my intro out and they're like, don't ever call me again. That does not count as a talk. So a talk is, yes, I am interested in buying real estate, or no, not at this time. I'm not very interested in buying real estate. So at 30 talks a day, we found that we can produce pretty predictable results for that.
Okay. Are you using a dialer, by the way?
Oh yeah. So we use Vulcan 7. Yeah. So, and the reason why we like Vulcan over any of the other dialers, because I played around with Mojo, and I like the idea of like, wow, 5 lines of dialing, like that's really great. I have not reached a level yet where I think that I deserve 5 lines of dialing. I just have not. I don't think that I'm at that level of mastery where I need to be doing something like that. But maybe that's just a limiting belief. I don't know. But Vulcan works. We get the FSBO, so we get FSBO numbers on it. We also get all the expired information through Vulcan 7. And for me, and I think I still have 3 accounts on there because it wasn't always just me on my team. I think it's like $400 a month.
Right. Okay, gotcha. So, by the way, let's talk about that, because you're at Keller Williams, right? You decide you're going to, shed the teammates. You're going to start fresh, EXP. You reached out to Icon for one-on-one coaching to really build the team the right way. Right. So I see a lot of agents out there that say, yes, I want to build a team, and yes, I want to go about it this way. Guys, success leaves clues, no doubt about it. I've learned those lessons, not only through my personal experience, yet through the individuals that we coach at Icon to learn the lessons. David, what's the most important lesson you learned about building a team to just, strip it down and restart fresh and new? Talk to me.
Yeah. The biggest lesson is that you're either, and I'm looking now because I'm kind of ashamed that it took me this long to figure it out. You'll either follow the process now or you'll follow the process later when it comes to onboarding and hiring. So just because somebody, they come up with a nice resume and they're like, oh, look at all my qualifications, and they've, got the right look and everything is just the way that you think that it should be. If you don't follow the process to actually, digging deep and checking the references and sitting down and figuring out what really makes them tick, it's highly likely that you're going to wind up with a bad team member. And a bad team member, there's one that I can think of off the top of my head that there was a hard cost, so meaning checks that I actually wrote in order to fix mistakes that were made that totaled $28,000. So I wrote checks for $28,000, and then the actual business loss portion of it, I ran the numbers out on it, and it kind of made me sick to my stomach because in a 5-year period, just running the numbers that we had, it cost us about $300,000. So there's $300,000 of lost revenue and $28,000 of my money, actual business dollars that I wrote. And it's because, it was like, well, it smells good to me, you're hired.
Right. Well, the research suggests, guys, that the cost of a bad hire is actually 26 times whatever you paid them. Do you think it's an understatement, David?
I don't know. That's probably pretty accurate.
Right. So in that vein, tell me, how important is coaching?
Coaching is crucial. And I think that especially when dealing with people that like real estate agents that are fiercely independent, we have a tendency to kind of go off the rails pretty quick. That's how I was anyway. I'm like a wild animal, just kind of running around doing whatever without a coach. So the deal with coaching is that it sets up this system of accountability, and you have somebody, that's like, kind of holding the reins, like, whoa. Like, I know you want to go that fast, but don't do that. That's a really bad idea. So coaching, even though it is a significant expense, when you look at it from, just the, from the business standpoint, isn't an expense? Yes, it is. The amount of money that I wound up saving me and saves me, and the amount of money that it's actually helped me to create, I mean, it's just a small fee.
It's a small fee, right? And it's a fixed fee too. So you know what you're writing that check for every month. We want you to make an extra $1 million next year, you guys, and still we're just $500 a month or $1,000 a month, or even at the highest level, the team elite coaching is just $2,000 per month. Yet when those conversion rates improve and you've got the systems in place producing that consistent and predictable result, we're just a flat fee model, no doubt about it. So tell me, where does most of your business come from, David?
So most of the business right now is coming from geofarming. And so that's a lot of, not so much door knocking anymore. This winter was really bad, so we did not do much door knocking. We would have died. So geofarming and leveraging our buyer needs and then our database and referral and repeat.
Okay, so geofarming is number one on the list?
Yeah, right now it is. It was leveraging the buyer needs before.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let's talk about your geofarming because, and this was the main reason I wanted to make you the icon of the month, by the way, is because of your geofarming strategies and all of that. Just walk us through it like we're in the third grade. How is it that you, specifically, how do you geofarm? What do you do?
So first, the first thing that I do is I identify an area that actually has turnover. That's the first thing,
okay, again, like we're in the third grade, David. So How do you do that?
Okay. So get on the, sorry about that. So
No.
get on the MLS and look, just search on the MLS different areas, and where an area has like a lot of activity, there's been a lot of selling activity and a lot of buying activity. Just focus on that, because so what I've learned, and this is through just, my own experience and also reading and then going to training, is that when you put a sign in the yard, anybody that can actually see that sign, when they wake up in the morning, they're having their coffee and they're looking out the window, they're like, oh, the Johnsons just put their house on the market. Oh, that's interesting. And so then their thought process starts, of like, well, I don't know, we could always use a nicer house. So, turnover just means that there's enough activity that makes it worth my time to actually, to go there and to, knock on doors and to make calls and to send out flyers and to do direct mail. Through Cole Realty Resource, we get a list of their email addresses so we can email them and stuff. But the first thing is to identify an area where there's actual activity. Because there's a lot of areas in Helena, they're very nice and they're very desirable, and nobody sells houses ever in those areas, ever.
Interesting. Okay. So essentially you'll just go into public records, do a search based on subdivision name to determine how many homes are available or how many homes are in that subdivision, right? Then you go in and you do the sold research, the active and under contract research, and by the way, very important, the expired, withdrawn, or canceled research, right? To determine, well, what is the likelihood of turnover in that neighborhood? Meaning, do 2% turnover per year? Is it 12% that turnover per year? Is it 15% that turnover per year? And to compare before just making a decision, oh, I know that neighborhood, it feels like a lot of homes sell there, actually do the research, right? Actually do the research. What is the likelihood of turnover in that subdivision? So that's point number one. What's next?
Just do it.
Okay. Action. I love it. Yeah. Tell me, what do you mean just do it? What does that mean? Is it door knocking once per year? Is it twice per year? Is it a direct mail campaign? Is it an 8x8 campaign?
Right.
Is it a slide broadcast voicemail drop to the subdivision? Right. What do you mean?
So my process involves cold calling, not much direct mail. I kind of gave direct mail up actually. So it's cold calling and door knocking. So the direct mail piece, I think that we're going to start adding it back in, because that's the conversation starter, as I found, is that if you identify your area that you want to geofarm in, when you send out your direct mail piece, basically everybody in that entire area is going to throw it away. But that's okay, because that's not really the reason why you're doing it. They're going to look at it. They'll be like, oh, this is interesting. Throw it away. And then you can follow it up with a call.
Yeah, David, I've said it 1,000
Torgerson.
times.
I'm a real estate broker here in town.
Yeah, we had a spot in the internet connection there. Apologies for that, you guys. I've said it 1,000 times. If you're just going to send out a mailer and expect your phone to ring, guys, it doesn't work that way unless you can do it through repetition over about a 6-month period. Then it starts to work that way. Yet if you're just going to send it out without following up with a phone call, I'll tell you what, just send David 50% of the money that you are going to invest in that, and he'll invest it in some charity for you, okay? Because you might as well just throw it in the trash can for that matter. Keep the other 50%, right? Rather, if you send out a mailer, follow it up with a phone call, and at a minimum, like a slide broadcast voicemail drop, where you record your voice once, you upload the contact information, the phone numbers into slide broadcast, you click submit, everybody gets your voicemail message, and you get a report within about 10 minutes as to who got the voicemail message, who couldn't be left a voicemail, what numbers were disconnected, so on and so forth. So at a minimum, a slide broadcast, right? Ideally, you're picking up the phone and you're calling them. And 30 talks a day will get you there.
And the one thing that I wanted to add too, and I forgot about this until right now, is that I didn't always have phone numbers. That was the big thing. When I first started out, I'm like, when everybody said, well, you just call them on the phone. It's like, yeah, that sounds super duper easy. Like, but I don't have their number. You see, there's a big problem here. And so that's actually where, if somebody's starting and they say don't have the budget where they're going to get Cole Realty Resource, or they're not going to get Vulcan, or they're just starting and they're like, I want to do this geofarm thing. Just go knock on their door. Send out the mailer and go knock on the door and just tell them like, hey, I just want to, you just use the same script, but now you're doing it face to face and smiling at them. And then you can ask them, hey, if I wanted to keep in contact with you and you need a really great real estate agent, like what's a good number I can reach you at?
Gotcha.
And then you get a phone number.
I love it. Love it. Love it. So what's the call to action, by the way, on your first mailer piece for this farm area?
It's buyer need.
Buyer need. Okay. Tell us more about that because I love it.
Yeah. So it's just a one sheet. I was going to screen share it and then, whatever. I'm not going to do that. So, but we put 4 buyers on one sheet, and at the title or at the top, the title is help us find these buyers a home, and then it will have buyer number 1. And it's like, this is what they're looking for. This is the area that they would really like to be in. And, in big bold letters, pre-approved, and ready to purchase right now. So any of the buyers that we send out are pre-approved and ready to purchase right now. And the key to that too is that it has to be truthful.
100%, no doubt about it.
Yeah.
100%. So you're sending out like 4 to 5 different buyers that are ready, willing, and able to buy right now. Are you doing just first names? You're doing first and last names? Tell me about that.
No names.
No names. Okay.
No,
so it's just buyer 1. Here's what they're looking for. Buyer 2. Gotcha. So yeah, that is a powerful strategy, you guys. In fact, at the Kokoska Group, we leveraged that the first Thursday of every month. We would send out, we have these buyers we're working with. Who do you know who'd like to sell a house that meets the needs of any of our buyers, right? The third Thursday of every month, we would send out the just listeds to everybody in our database, where the first Thursday, advertising the buyer's needs, that went to the entire database, and it went specific to the subdivisions that we knew that these people wanted to buy in, okay? And the other was just specifically to our database. Yet to follow a system, to say, okay, first Thursday of every month, this is what I'm going to do. The third Thursday of every month, I'm going to do this, right? To do that repetitiously, because it's about consistency if you truly want to build a big brand. So obviously, David, branding is something that you're into. I mean, you've got your logo and your team name on your collar. You got it on your cufflinks. Tell me, what are you doing to really create that omnipresent, powerful brand in your market area beyond that?
Oh boy. So it's really just being out and about. Our community really isn't that big. So I think we're like at 60,000 total, and that includes the whole valley. So as far as branding is concerned, I do a lot of contact with businesses. So I'll go in and talk to the business owners, like, hey, what's up? Like, I'm a real estate broker. You're a sign guy. We should do business together. You're a nice person. And then it's just going in periodically with a cup of coffee, or going in with a little tidbit of information, or just going in to say hello. And so that's been something that I've found is really effective at creating the brand, that I want, the brand that I want. It's not a brand that other people have created for me. It's a brand that I want, and it's just somebody that I'm professional. I'm the only agent in my community that wears a suit and tie. So that's been a really big calling card. Is that I kind of exude professionalism. And when people ask about the market, I mean, we have, I love it too when people ask, because it's, and I learned this from Gene Rivers.
Great guy, by the way.
I love that guy. Yeah. And he was like, yeah, just ask him. That's a fantastic question. Why do you ask? That's it. So, So as far as the brand saturation, we don't do like a whole lot as far as marketing, like big billboards or anything like that. It's more, person to person, face to face, and, just developing relationships.
Well, I think that's important because it always has been, it is today, and it always will be a relationship-driven business. No question about that. So the more people you talk to, the more relationships you form, right? The more relationships you form, the more appointments you get. Now, I love the idea of business-to-business networking, by the way. And it could be a sign company. It could be a house painter. It could be a CPA. It could be a divorce attorney. It could be probate, trust attorneys, whatever that is. Yet I'm going to share a script with you guys real quick. Just take this away, implement it immediately. In fact, if you made one contact per day like this, you'll have one appointment per day with a business influencer within your market area. Like, let's just say that it's a house painter. Now, the reason you'd want to call a house painter is because, if I were to list my home today, David, I would probably call my painter first, just do a little bit of touch-up paint here and there. Just make the house look super sharp, right? Not that it doesn't. It's just everybody could use a little bit of touch-up paint after being in a home for a little while, right? So I would probably call my painter and say, yeah, we're thinking about getting our house on the market. When could you come over and do some touch-up paint? So the point here is that the house painter, they might know somebody's going to list their home before a real estate agent does, right? And so if I just called up a house painter and I said, hey, it's Sean Kokosko over at XYZ Realty. Thanks so much for taking my call. By the way, I found your information on Yelp. It looks like you have several 5-star reviews. There's some great testimonies. And I'm sure you can imagine, as a professional full-time realtor in our market area, from time to time, I come across prospects, clients, even past clients that are in need of a great painter. So let me ask, are you taking new clients at this time? To which the answer is always what, David? Of course I am, right? Absolutely. Perfect. When could we meet up for just 5 minutes? I want to collect some of your promotional materials and, of course, share some of mine. Perhaps we could be of assistance to one another. Is it generally mornings or afternoons?
Afternoons.
From conversation to appointment, your conversion rate should be 100%. Now, during that meeting, by the way, just keep your promise. 5 minutes. That's it. Collect their promotional materials, leave yours behind, and then get their cell phone number. This is a critical step. About an hour after the meeting, I want you to text them and say, it was a pleasure meeting you today. Thank you so much for your time. I really look forward to networking with you in the future. To which they respond, I look forward to networking with you as well. Then you follow up a couple of days later by phone and you say, hey, thanks again for taking my call. And thanks for the time just a couple of days ago. I really appreciate that. I just wanted to let you know, I've taken your promotional materials. I've added that to my listing presentation, my buyer presentation, and I've got my eyes open for new business for you. And tell me, who do you know right now that's looking to rent a property, buy a home, sell a house, or invest in real estate that I could call today? Guys, it's really that simple. And then follow the simple methodology of David. Just stop in every so often or pick up the phone, say, hey, I was thinking about you. And by the way, the easiest way to get referrals from what I call these linchpins in your community is to give them referrals, right? Just get proactive. Give before you expect to receive. You can't kick the side of a wood-burning stove and say, hey, give me heat and I'll give you wood. It doesn't work that way. You got to put the wood in first, right? So focus on adding value to them, and it creates that law of reciprocity. In fact, the hand that's left empty after giving is open to receive, yeah? So when you focus on adding value and you focus on helping people get more of what they want, automatically they want to do the same for you, yes? And that's what I heard. And that's what I took away from that, David. Anything else you'd like to add?
No, I think that's pretty well it. Well, I guess as far as like the business to business part of it too, the thing that's really, that was eye-opening for me is that I'm in business. And when people stop in, and say hi to me, like, how do I feel? I feel great. So how would they feel if I just stopped in and I was like, hey, like, you're an important person to me. How does that make them feel as a business owner? It makes them feel great.
It really does. And every business owner, well, they suffer from the same problem. That's lack of exposure. So when you're willing to expose them to your people in your database, they're going to be willing to do the same for you. So guys, we're right at the top of the hour. If there's any burning questions, go ahead and type them in there. Otherwise, David, what parting thoughts or words of wisdom would you like to leave for our listeners? Go for it.
Just do it.
Just do it. The old Nike phrase. I dig it. Just do it, guys. Just get out there. Get into action. And I'm not talking about just any action. I'm talking about massive action. Guys, I don't think it's enough to just be passionate about this industry anymore. There's far too many competitors. There's venture capital companies out there that are funding these tech companies that are trying to put us out of business. We can't just be passionate about it anymore. I believe we need to be obsessed with increasing your production, increasing your profit, your market share, and everything else. David, thank you so much for your time today. Thanks for just giving massive value to our audience here at Icon Coaching. And for those of you who have attended and watched this on Facebook Live, I just want to thank you for being here. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Look forward to next time. Until then, be on purpose, be productive, and as always, be powerful with your actions. Thanks, David.
Yep. See you.
Bye-bye.